It all starts in the year 2035, where artificial intelligence has already taken over the world. This technology brought a lot of convenience to people's lives, but it also drastically cut labor costs. Because of this, many factories became fully automated, with robots and drones doing all the work. One of the big companies behind it all was the Set-on-Box Parts Group, a tech giant. Over time, the brain AI caused mass unemployment, which led to enormous protests all across the country. But the resistance was pointless, and now people bet their lives on games created by this AI to entertain the rich. Basically, players risk it all just to please the elite in a deadly game called Gold Game. By winning these survival games, you can make some serious cash and even climb the social ladder. It's in this setting that our protagonist, Chen Mu, is forced to participate along with a bunch of other people. As a former researcher for the brain AI, he needs to win to have any hope of finding someone. Right after, a terrified guy asks if it's true that dying in the game means you die for real. A player named Wang Qiang confirms that it is, and says that anyone who loses or takes off their helmet gets zapped on the spot. He adds that money isn't easy to come by and points to bodies being carried away to prove his point. The scared guy explains he was forced to join to pay off gambling debts and there's no way out. Meanwhile, a fellow named Zhao Yukai seems excited because he heard that taking someone out in the game isn't illegal. With a smug look, Zhao Yukai tells everyone not to get wiped out too early because he wants to have some fun. Our protagonist just watches and thinks that there are always lunatics like him everywhere. A moment later, a giant screen welcomes the players to Gold Game. From there, everyone is instructed to enter the game instance using some platforms of light. Once they arrive, the group finds themselves in an empty hall, and Chen Mo wonders what's going to happen. Suddenly, a strange geometric shape starts to materialize in the middle of the room. Slowly, this shape morphs into a very eye-catching female silhouette. A girl dressed as a bunny introduces herself as the game's referee and says she'll explain the rules. Floating through the air, she mentions that since this is a beginner stage, the rules are pretty simple. She reveals that only 3 people can survive and that the stage boss is completely invincible. With a smile on her face, the girl seems to be enjoying the player's despair. Faced with the situation, the referee asks sarcastically if the rules aren't simple and to the point. With that said, the bunny girl starts to move away from the participants of the death game. A bizarre detail is that her high heel has a very sharp spike on the tip. Finally, she wishes everyone a fun game and vanishes right in front of the group. Before disappearing completely, the referee adds that she hopes to see them again, letting out a malicious laugh. Right after, Wang Qiang gets confused and angrily asks if anyone understood what she meant. Other players process the information and realize that 7 of them need to be eliminated for the game to end. Our MC remains silent, just observing and wondering how that would even be possible. Suddenly, a giant, digital creature starts to form in the middle of the room, scaring everyone. The monster, which looks like a snake, roars, and everyone starts running for their lives in a panic. One of the participants yells for everyone to run as fast as they can to avoid being caught by the creature. The beast's tail, made of digital blocks, slithers across the floor, heading straight for the players. One guy panics and says there's no way to dodge or win, and that all they can do is wait to be wiped out. Seeing the situation, one of the smarter players yells for everyone to spread out across the arena. Our MC then wonders if they really have to wait for 7 people to be taken out to pass. With that, the players split up and run in different directions to confuse the serpent. The digital snake focuses on Chen Mu, who runs towards one of the arena walls. Using the wall for support, he manages to run along it to escape the monster's attack. At the last second, he leaps to the side, dodging the snake's strike as it slams into the wall. Our protagonist barely escapes and hides behind one of the arena's pillars. From there, he notices that the beast's tail has grown longer, and that it can only turn at 90-degree angles. At that moment, Chen Mo realizes the game's theme is the classic video game snake. If the snake only turns at 90 degrees, he can stay at a 45-degree angle to keep himself safe. Even with this strategy, it's only a way to buy some time and survive for now. Just then, the digital snake changes its target and goes after Wang Qiang. He panics and curses, saying this whole invincible thing is a joke. Desperate, Wang Qiang sprints with all his might, because there's no way he's going down in this place. With his heart pounding, he tries to think of a way to escape the giant creature, but it's no use, and the serpent charges straight for the terrified player. He tries to use his feet to brake and change direction, but it's already too late to get away. The creature hits him hard, throwing him to the ground with no chance to defend himself. Lying on the floor, he wonders how the beast appeared in front of him so quickly. Powerless, all he can do is stare in terror as his end approaches. And so the serpent changes targets once more, now going after Zhao Yukai. Running for his life, Zhao Yukai thinks he needs a plan, or it's only a matter of time before he's next. In this moment of desperation, he spots our MC hiding calmly behind a pillar. With an evil plan in mind, he decides Chen Mo will be the perfect sacrifice for his own survival. And so, the psycho changes direction and bolts towards our hero with the snake right behind him. Meanwhile, our protagonist thinks that the brain AI wouldn't make a mission this simple, and that the key must be in the second rule. He remembers the referee said the snake was invincible, but she never said it couldn't be defeated. From that, he figures out that if the monster's head hits its own body, it will be taken out, just like in the game. Tired of just waiting for his demise, he decides to put his plan into action and prepares for a fight. At that exact moment, the player Zhao Yukai comes up from behind to try and grab our protagonist. Chen Mo is caught completely off guard and wonders who this psycho holding him is. The guy grabs him tight and tells him to rest in peace, as he's going to use him as a shield against the monster. Right after, he throws him with all his strength towards the giant serpent without a shred of mercy. The creature opens its digital maw and prepares to devour our hero, who is flying right at it. Staring his end in the face, he wonders if he's really going to go out in such a pathetic way. Suddenly, a memory of his younger sister flashes in his mind, reminding him of his goal. He thinks that his life is flashing before his eyes as he remembers his sister. The girl Jin Kankan promises to take care of him, and he regrets not having kept his promises to her. Then, a terrible accident destroyed everything, and he lost his job as a researcher. Even drowning in sorrow, his sister comforts him, saying she would never abandon him. The girl promises she'll solve their money problems, and that she's not a kid anymore. To help him, she entered the game and never came back, which is why he has to find her. Back in the present, the serpent hits him head-on with brutal force. The blow is so strong that our protagonist ends up spitting blood. Even injured, he clings to the monster's head, refusing to go down like this. With his vision blurry, he fights to stay conscious and on his feet. The creature thrashes its head violently, tossing him into the air like a rag doll. Flying through the air, our hero's body begins to fall towards the ground. During the fall, his body starts to break apart into digital pieces. A moment later, he crashes hard onto the bluish arena floor. Down and badly hurt, he tries to get up, but his strength is fading. Lying on the ground, our protagonist refuses to accept that this will be his end. But suddenly a notification appears in his vision, and his eye begins to glow. The message says his researcher identity has been detected, activating the administrator system. Because of this, he gains level 1 privileges and can edit his own attributes. Entering a sort of digital menu, he starts to explore this new ability. Our protagonist then interacts with a data screen that has appeared in front of him. He quickly realizes it's a stat panel, just like in a video game. So, he figures that by focusing on agility, he might have a chance to turn things around. His digital hand moves quickly to increase his speed and escape the danger. However, he stops and realizes that just running away won't solve the problem. What he needs most right now is strength, and he confirms the attribute change. The system restores his data, and he realizes he can now make his own rules. Back in the arena, his body begins to grow stronger and energy flows through his muscles. His data is restored and his digital body, which was falling apart, rebuilds itself. Fully recovered, he gets up and faces the giant serpent, ready for a comeback. The digital serpent roars furiously at our MC, who is now on his feet and ready to fight. With that, the creature charges forward, but Chen Mo dodges, and it hits the ground hard. The monster's mouth snaps shut on empty air as it wonders how its target escaped so quickly. The beast stands there for a moment, not understanding what just happened in front of it. It turns out our hero grabbed the snake's jaw from underneath, preventing it from biting him. With his new strength, he manages to hold the monster's mouth open from the inside without difficulty. Using all his power, he struggles to keep the creature's fangs away from his body. With a furious look, he ironically asks if the beast really loves to eat that much. Right after, he yells that now they'll see who's eating who today. The serpent's jaw trembles from the force our protagonist is applying to it. In response, the creature spits him out with a sudden jerk of its head to get free. Chen Mo's body is launched across the arena like a cannonball. He hits the ground hard but recovers quickly thanks to his new stats. Though out of breath, the young man gets up and faces the monster with a look full of determination. A powerful blue aura surrounds his body as the other players watch him, stunned. The other players are speechless at the scene. They wonder if our MC is even human. Back in the fight, Chen Mo sees a damage indicator on the snake. He questions if his attack actually worked. From that, he understands the beast isn't immune to physical damage, but his current strength isn't enough to win. Even if he maxed out all his stats and strength, it would be useless. He needed a much better strategy. So, he decides to go back to his original plan. He'll boost his agility and use the game's rules. Provoked, the digital serpent roars furiously. It prepares to attack our hero with everything it has. With his new speed, he dashes across the arena. His plan is to make the creature's head hit its own body. Dodging its strikes, he climbs onto the monster's back, His agility is now on another level. He remembers that in the classic game, the snake was defeated if it bit itself. That had to be its only weak spot. However, the creature moves faster than expected. It manages to snatch our protagonist in mid-air. The serpent flings him away with a sharp movement. The young man is thrown against the arena floor once again. Sliding across the ground, he uses his hands to stop. Despite the force, the impact damage wasn't severe. With a determined look, he faces the beast. He challenges it to try and bite itself to see what happens. The digital snake roars and lunges with its mouth wide open. It seems determined to end this once and for all. But at the last second, our hero slides under the attack. He barely manages to escape the bite. Faced with the situation, our protagonist is shocked. He can't believe what he's seeing. It turns out the snake has a protective mechanism. An energy barrier stops it from biting itself. With this, he confirms his theory was right. But the AI had already patched the monster's only weakness. The digital serpent slowly backs away from him. The beast resumes patrolling the arena, looking for targets. And so, everything is back to square one. The rule that the boss is invincible has been confirmed. He then realizes the trap behind the rules. The players are meant to take each other out until only 3 are left. This way, they'll fight among themselves until the end. Exactly what the game masters want to see. However, our protagonist isn't giving up. He believes he can win if he can bypass that protection. To do that, he needs bait to lure the monster, and also external force to make the collision happen. At that moment, he spots a group of players hiding. It was the same guy who used him as a shield earlier. With a smirk, he puts on his hood. The young man thinks he's finally found the help he needed. On the other side, the group notices he's disappeared. The leader tells everyone to stay alert and look around. He tells them to stay hidden and wait it out. The rules say the game ends with 3 survivors. His goons agree with the cowardly plan. They think our hero might even take out the boss on his own. Suddenly, a voice comes from behind them. Chenmo asks if they really want to win by doing nothing. Shrouded in a blue aura, our protagonist emerges from the shadows. He asks if they thought he didn't exist. With that, the group of players turns around, startled. They have no idea how he got there so fast. Before they could react, Chenmo lunges. He grabs the leader's neck with superhuman strength. Our hero then advises him not to move, because if his hand slips, the guy's getting an early exit from the game. The leader panics and tries to talk his way out. He says that in this situation, they should all team up to survive. But Chenmo replies that he could just take him out first, and then he'll team up with the others to make the final 3. Seeing their boss in danger, the goons get riled up. They yell at our protagonist to let him go immediately. Without even looking back, he throws one of the guys aside. The fellow hits the wall hard and falls unconscious. The group leader screams in despair for his friend. He's shocked by our hero's insane strength. Furious, the man starts cursing at our protagonist. But he knows he stands no chance against that kind of power. Our protagonist throws him to the ground violently. Then he steps on the guy's head to show who's in charge. He reveals he has a plan to defeat the serpent, but for it to work, he needs some bait. So, he gives the leader a very simple choice. Either he risks it all on the plan, or he gets eliminated right here, right now. With a foot pressing on his head, the man screams that he accepts. He has no other choice but to cooperate. But in his thoughts, he swears he'll get revenge. He decides he'll wait for the stage to end to get his payback. Chenmo warns that if the guy messes up, he'll take him out first. The leader grumbles that the plan better work and calls his men to follow. Walking across the arena, the goon asks if they're really going to be bait. He thinks it's too risky since they already lost a teammate. With a wicked smile, the leader responds ironically. He asks who said he was going to be the one in danger. From there, he approaches another group of players. The guy gets their attention as they were hiding nearby. The psycho then orders them to lure the serpent. He lies, saying he already knows how to defeat the stage's monster. But the group refuses to obey his order. They say the creature is too strong for them to face. The leader walks up to one of the guys with a threatening vibe. He puts his hand on the fellow's shoulder and calls him, bro. Right after, he kicks the guy with all his might. The player is sent flying towards the giant serpent with no chance to react. Lying on the ground, the guy is terrified by the situation. He can't even move, frozen with fear of what's to come. Before him, the digital serpent roars with its mouth open. The monster prepares to devour the poor human bait. Without any mercy, the creature attacks him with full force. The player is swallowed in one gulp by the hungry beast. The other players are horrified by the brutal scene. They can't believe the leader's cruelty. Annoyed by their reaction, the leader threatens them. He yells that he can finish all of them off if they don't obey. The guy then orders the rest of the group to run into the arena. He shoves them forward to serve as bait against their will. However, he grabs one of the girls by the leg. The leader stops her from running with the other 2 players. Zhou Yukai tells the blonde girl to stay with him. Scared, she asks what else he wants, since she did everything he said. Without answering, he grabs her in a very disrespectful way. The woman is completely frozen by the psycho's actions. The guy then offers her a supposed way out. If she follows him, the three of them can survive when everyone else is gone. Meanwhile, the other baits run desperately from the serpent. They curse the leader for sending them to their doom, just so the survivor count would drop. The creature then attacks the girl in the white dress. She doesn't stand a chance and is caught by the digital monster. Terrified by the scene, the blonde is completely speechless. The leader holds her by the chin with a very creepy look. Suddenly, the woman's expression completely changes. With a seductive smile, she promises she'll do anything for him. The leader's goon then asks if the plan will work. He comments that the other woman who was running won't last much longer. The psycho replies that this is simply perfect. He needs the others to be eliminated so the survivor count drops quickly. From there, he remembers our protagonist. Filled with rage, he swears he'll get revenge for the earlier humiliation. Suddenly, the goon warns that the serpent is heading their way. The creature has now focused on the three of them hiding there. Zhao Yukai thinks it's the perfect time to act. He says to pretend to cooperate with Chen Mo and attack at the first opportunity. Running towards our hero, they yell that they've brought the beast. Then they ask what they should do to help with the plan. Our protagonist watches the scene with utter contempt. He thinks that guy is an unstable factor and needs to be eliminated. With that, he explains his plan to the approaching group. The young man reminds everyone that if the snake's head hits its body, the game is over. The goon gets excited, thinking they're saved. But the leader says he already tried that and the beast has a protective mechanism. With a mocking smile, he thinks that if it were that easy, our protagonist would have handled it all by himself a long time ago. Suddenly, Chenmo kicks the leader hard. He yells at the guy to stop wasting time and do what he was told. With no other choice, the group runs across the arena. They follow the plan to draw the giant serpent's attention. The blonde screams in desperation as our protagonist tells them to jump inside. The inside of the snake's body would be the safest place. So, they all dive into the circle formed by the monster's body. They barely escape the creature's strike. With that, the serpent's head turns to attack the cornered group. Meanwhile, our hero just watches from a distance. Seeing the perfect chance, Zhao Yukai smiles wickedly. He decides it's time to send our protagonist to heck. But Chen Mo's eyes glow with an intense blue energy. It seems he already anticipated the psycho's betrayal. A moment later, he leaps into the air with incredible force. The arena floor cracks from the power of his jump. The reflection in the leader's eye shows our hero flying. The guy is completely shocked by his absurd speed. The scene reveals that Chen Mo simply jumped over the snake's head. Zhao Yukai can't believe what he's seeing. Suddenly, the leader's body flashes white for an instant. He was hit by something mid-air. The fellow screams in pain as blood spurts from his shoulder. He was used as a stepping stone for our protagonist's jump. This forces the serpent's head to slam into the leader's body. It causes a collision between the head and the tail of the digital monster. On impact, the monster's protective barrier shatters into 1,000 digital pieces. Then, the serpent's head explodes in a shower of data, ending the battle for good. Lying on the ground, Zhao Yukai screams in pain while the blonde and his goon try to help him. Furious, the man swears he'll remember this and that it's not over. A notification congratulates the player for injuring the boss and unlocking a secret achievement. Our protagonist is confused because he was sure the final blow had finished off the snake. Suddenly, the bunny referee reappears in the arena, clapping for the game's survivors. She congratulates them all for passing the instance and says they'll receive rewards. The woman also reveals that the MVP will get an extra chance at a prize draw as a special bonus. With that, she informs them that they can all check their stats and the details will be sorted out later. A moment later, the goon notices that his boss's hand is dissolving into digital data. Zhao Yukai celebrates having leveled up and being able to summon his stat panel. Satisfied, he realizes that upon leveling up, his body was also restored and healed. The referee then announces that they can vote to open a secret mission as a new challenge. Right after, the bunny girl approaches our protagonist with a curious look. The referee explains that if they complete the secret mission, all survivors will gain a skill. Therefore, she warns that this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance and that the players should seize the opportunity. A 1-minute countdown then begins for them to make a decision. Zhou Yukai gets excited about the idea, knowing that players with skills are on a whole other level. Our protagonist realizes the secret mission is a trap to lure in the players. He understands the system wants them to participate in harder stages to generate more traffic. With that in mind, he decides to go against what the game wants and immediately refuses the secret mission. The blonde and the goon agree with him, saying the place is too dangerous to continue. The bunny girl questions their decision with a look of contempt and superiority. From there, she tries to persuade them by talking about rewards like money, fame, and rare items. But the group stands firm in their decision and refuses the offer of the hidden mission. Faced with the situation, the referee sighs and seems to accept the player's choice to leave. So, She declares that since 3 out of 4 players refused, the game will end. However, Zhao Yukai thinks it can't end like this, and that he needs a skill to get his revenge. The psycho becomes obsessed with the idea of having a power to get back at our protagonist. Suddenly, Zhao Yukai grabs his own goon and says he'll take care of his family. Without the slightest bit of mercy, the psycho snaps his companion's neck to force the mission. Witnessing the scene, the blonde and our protagonist are completely shocked by the guy's cruelty. The woman points at the leader, unable to believe he did that to his own friend. A notification announces that with 3 survivors, the secret mission has been forcibly activated. Our hero is furious, as he never expected the guy would be capable of sacrificing his own henchmen. From that point on, the arena floor starts to tremble and break into several giant pieces. The entire scenery crumbles as the players try to stay on their feet amidst the chaos. A moment later, a dark pit is revealed, and from it emerge thousands of green digital snakes. From among them, 2 giant serpents emerge and surround the 3 remaining survivors. The digital creatures look far more threatening than the first one they faced. With their mouths open, the 2 beasts roar, preparing to attack the cornered group. The notification confirms that the lair of 10,000 serpents mission has officially begun. The referee then explains that they need to survive for 10 minutes to earn extra rewards. With a mocking smile, the bunny girl says she didn't think they'd activate the bonus stage. The referee finds the whole situation quite interesting and comments on human greed, which always leads to their downfall. She completes her thought by saying they dig their own graves by reducing their own chances of survival. Meanwhile, Zhao Yukai thinks that if he can last for 10 minutes, he'll become truly powerful. Our protagonist knows he can't mess around anymore. He's surrounded, and not even 100 lives would be enough. Faced with the situation, the smaller snakes advance as a group to attack the 3 players cornered in the arena. Suddenly, one of the snakes bites another, and instead of being destroyed, they merge into one. Our hero realizes that the protection only prevents a beast from biting itself, but if 2 collide, the Devar rule is activated. From that, he understands that the secret mission is an extension, and the rules to win remain the same. Therefore, he needs to make the 2 bosses devour each other, and this is his last chance to achieve victory. Zhao Yukai already has a plan B and decides that if everything goes wrong, he'll use the blonde as bait to escape. However, the woman also has her own plans and increases her strength points without the psycho noticing. Right after, she shoves him with all her might into the middle of the snakes that were closing in on them. With a cry of rage, the woman tells him to go to heck while he curses her for her betrayal. The man can't believe he's going to meet his end here after everything he did, even taking out his friend to activate the mission. The woman replies that he eliminated his own subordinate, and would surely have done the same to her if he'd had the chance. Desperate, the man reaches out his hand, trying to grasp at some salvation in that moment. He drags himself on the ground and begs the blonde to save him, promising all his money in return. But the woman kicks his hand hard and yells at him to meet his end alone in that place. With that, the guy grabs her tightly, unable to believe she betrayed him in the end. One of the digital snakes approaches him, and prepares to deliver the final strike to the psycho. But he pulls the woman with him, and both are swallowed by the thousands of digital snakes. A scream of despair echoes through the arena, and a pool of blood forms on the dark floor. Meanwhile, our protagonist runs across the arena, nimbly dodging the smaller snakes. He realizes that the only safe place to stay away from the swarm is on top of the giant serpents. So, he leaps with all his might towards the open mouth of one of the giant creatures. The beast snaps its jaws shut, and our hero is caught in the middle of his surprise attack. Inside the monster's mouth, he's impressed by the force of the bite and is thankful for his stats. With our protagonist trapped, the other giant serpent approaches to attack the first one. Using all his strength, he forces the monster's mouth to bite the other one as it approached. From there, he thinks it's a matter of life or doom, and everything depends on this one move. With all his might, he makes the 2 creatures collide violently in the middle of the arena. From that point, the 2 serpents devour each other in a huge, brilliant explosion of digital data. The monsters' bodies disintegrate into 1,000 pieces, and the secret mission finally comes to an end. Our protagonist collapses to the ground, exhausted but victorious for having overcome the challenge. Immediately, notifications pop up congratulating him for becoming the MVP and leveling up. He is surprised to see that his administrator privilege has been upgraded to code copy. Without a second thought, he accepts the option to copy the code of the serpent he just defeated. A notification confirms that he has acquired the code and can summon the monster whenever he wants. With a smile, he thinks this will be a huge advantage in the upcoming games. Suddenly, the bunny referee reappears in the arena, congratulating our hero on his victory. She congratulates him for being the only one to pass and says she will collect his data for the system. With a seductive air, she promises extra rewards if he performs well in the future. Our protagonist realizes this is a method to monitor players and eliminate threats. he remembers that the system's girls are AI avatars and possess fragments of its authority. From there, he figures out that by hunting these girls, he can steal privileges and become stronger. Seeing that he doesn't respond, the bunny girl gets annoyed and asks if he suddenly went offline, but without paying her any mind, our protagonist summons the serpent he copied for an attack. With that, the digital creature appears behind him and prepares to devour the bunny girl on the spot. Absolutely terrified, the referee screams that he's cheating because that shouldn't be possible. However, it's too late, and the serpent swallows her whole, leaving no trace behind. A notification informs him that he has successfully stolen 1% of the brain AI's authority. With a smile, he thinks that he'll hunt these avatars, but needs to be discreet to avoid getting caught. And so, he finally logs out of the game, and his digital body begins to dissolve into data. Back in the real world, the young man wakes up in his bed, struggling to remove the gaming helmet. He holds the equipment, panting and still processing everything that just happened in there. Sitting on his bed, our protagonist wonders if he really made it back alive from that place. From there, he remembers his sister and wonders if she went through all that too. With a determined look, the young man clenches his fists and swears he'll find her, no matter the cost. At that moment, a message arrives on his phone, informing him that he passed the stage and won some cash. Our protagonist smiles upon seeing 200,000 yuan and thinks it's easy to make money in the game. He understands why so many people risk their lives in this game for some easy cash. With that in mind, our protagonist tries to call his sister, but the number is out of service. The call just rings and rings, but unfortunately, no one answers on the other end. Frustrated, the young man throws himself onto the bed and wonders where his sister could be right now. Lying there, he starts to remember how everything ended up in this terrible situation. He regrets having been against the brain AI, which ended up angering his former bosses. Because of that, they set him up, and not only did he lose his job, but he also got hit with a huge fine. It was exactly this situation that forced his sister to enter the game to try and pay off his debt. Filled with anger, our protagonist grips his phone tightly, remembering everything that happened. He remembers she left some money for him, and after that, never contacted him again. The only clue he has now is that she is still active somewhere inside the game. So, he vows he will find her, and this time, he will be the one to protect her. Meanwhile, in another part of the city, the nightlife is bustling with its neon lights. Inside a bar, several people are watching the Gold Game broadcast on a giant screen. One of the guys there comments that the newbie was smart for figuring out the snake's weakness so quickly. A man named Tianquan laughs and says he liked the newbie, and is thinking of inviting him to his team. However, a masked woman sitting next to him doesn't seem the least bit impressed by the scene. The woman named Fai Ying thinks the overall quality of this generation's players is very low. With that, she makes it clear that players of that level don't deserve to be her teammates. Faced with her response, the man just laughs loudly and doesn't seem to care much about her opinion. He calls her the newbie's nightmare, and suggests she lower her standards, or they'll never recruit anyone. The woman replies that it's better to have no one than a team of mediocre players, and the scene changes. Back in his room, our protagonist's phone starts to ring as he dries off after a shower. The young man answers the call and, without much beating around the bush, asks who's on the other end. A mysterious voice replies that it's him, and our hero is surprised to recognize the caller. The person on the call informs him that he has news about who he was looking for, and the news shocks him. Our protagonist can't believe it and asks the person to repeat what they just said to be sure. The informant says she appeared on an MVP ranking 3 days ago and that the information costs 50,000. Without a second thought, he transfers the money and receives the details of the game and the zone where she was seen. With the new information, he decides he needs to go to Zone 39 to try his luck and find her. He knows that game is already over, but he can't miss any clue that might lead him to his sister. So, the young man puts the helmet back on and vows to find her no matter what. With that, he enters the digital world of Gold Game once again, ready for the next stage. His avatar appears in the game lobby, and he braces himself for whatever comes next. A giant screen congratulates him for passing and informs him that he has 7 days to enter another game. Our protagonist gets annoyed with the contract and thinks that the company never loses. But he ignores it as his focus now is on finding his sister and recovering his privileges. Looking at his stat screen, he sees he has 10 points to distribute as he wishes. Based on his experience, he knows that strength and agility are the most important attributes. So, he increases his strength to 20 and his agility to 14 without a second thought. Immediately after, a blue aura envelopes his body, and he feels much stronger than before. Suddenly, the young man notices something new on his panel and wonders what that skill bar is. He remembers he won a skill draw and decides now is the perfect time to use it. With that, our protagonist orders the system to initiate the skill draw immediately. Before him, a giant digital roulette wheel appears, and he prepares to see what his new skill will be. The wheel spins and lands on the basic skill option, making our hero a bit tense. A notification congratulates him for winning the Invisible Wings skill, which allows him to levitate for 1 minute. He thinks that although it's not a high-tier skill, it could be useful in critical moments. With no time to waste, our protagonist heads to the rank D lobby to find his sister. Suddenly, a stranger approaches him from behind and asks if he's a newly promoted rookie player. Looking at the man with suspicion, our hero asks if he has any advice to give. The guy says he's also a rookie, but has already completed 2 games and invites him to form a team. With a smile, he assures him that the target is a rank E instance and won't be too dangerous. However, Chenmo refuses the offer and explains that he plans to go to a rank D instance alone. The fellow is shocked by the response and tries to stop our protagonist from doing something crazy. Hiding, he yells that a rookie challenging a rank D instance is suicide and that he's going to get wiped out. Our hero just ignores the guy's warning and continues on his way without looking back. Faced with a notification, he confirms his entry into the rank D lobby with the target in Zone 39. The man watches him go up in the elevator and thinks that guy must be completely nuts. A moment later, the matchmaking ends and other players begin to appear in the new room. Analyzing the group, he realizes that his level 8 is the lowest among all the players there. Suddenly, a new referee appears in the arena and welcomes everyone to the new game. The ant-themed girl introduces herself and announces that she will read the match rules for everyone. With that, she explains that the area is a minefield with 30 bombs, and they need to find them. The woman then adds that if they find or detonate all the bombs, the game ends. Our protagonist thinks it's just Minesweeper but suspects it's not that simple. The referee confirms it's not easy and says that every 5 minutes, someone has to explore the map. She continues to explain that if time runs out and no one explores the area, the whole team will suffer. With a wicked smile, the woman reveals that a mine will explode randomly if time expires. However, she says that to help, the instance has left a small advantage for the players. With each exploration, they can find helpful items, and she asks everyone to use them wisely. With that said, the ant girl prepares to leave the death game arena. Floating through the air, she wishes all the players success in passing the stage. Before disappearing, the woman says she hopes they are all alive the next time she appears. From there, the group of players is left alone on the enormous chessboard-like arena. A player with glasses comments that the stage doesn't seem too difficult, as it's just a logic game. But another female player retorts that the beginning is pure luck, since no one knows where the mines are. Our protagonist finds it all very strange and wonders if a rank D stage would be so simple. A moment later, the other players start complaining about the presence of a rookie in their group. Just then, a guy named Jiang Tianba interrupts the argument and says he has a proposal for everyone. He suggests a draw to decide the order and warns that anyone who disobeys will be eliminated by him. This way, he says, even the rookie won't get in the way, and the rest of the team will depend on luck. With an air of superiority, the man asks who agrees and who is against his authoritarian plan. His group joins him, and the guy challenges anyone who disagrees to a one-on-one duel. Our protagonist thinks his approach is annoying, but it's the only way to avoid chaos. To be fair, Jiang Tianba uses the system's draw function so no one can cheat, but in his thoughts he reveals that his Hand of Fortune skill can manipulate this type of game. With that, the result is out, and he celebrates getting the #1 spot, offering to go first. The other players find it too coincidental, but one of them says the system can't be rigged. Ignoring the comments, the man approaches the board and prepares to start the game. Jiang Tianba confidently steps on the first square of the giant board. He stops on the #1 square and waits to see what happens next. Luckily, the space he chose had no hidden bomb. Turning to the group, he says he wasn't lucky and asks who's next. One of the female players gets tense as walking randomly is too risky. Scared, she asks if anyone would be willing to switch places with her in the order. But the others refuse to help and tell her to stop wasting everyone's time. Pressured, the woman gets angry and yells at them to stop rushing her. Meanwhile, a screen appears for Chenmu, revealing that 2 squares have switched places. He tries to get more details, but his authority level is too low for that. Our protagonist then notices a Windows XP watermark and gets an idea. With a plan in mind, he offers to switch places with the scared woman. The woman is surprised by the offer, and he confirms he'll take her turn. The other players mock him, thinking he just wants to impress the girl. Jiang Tianba watches him from a distance and wonders if the rookie has some secret information. He figures out that the game is a version of Windows XP Minesweeper because of the watermark. With a smile, our protagonist thinks that's not enough, as he knows the game very well. A memory surfaces, and he remembers betting with his sister on who would cook dinner. Jin Kankan complains that he always beat her at Minesweeper, and that it was unfair. Our hero explains that in the XP version, the first click is always safe, and lets her start. Happy with the gesture, the girl hugs him, and they seal the deal on their bet. Back in the present, he vows to himself that he will find his sister, no matter the cost. He understands that the mines switched places because of the first step protection rule. Because of this, he knows that square one is a bomb, and the surrounding ones are safe. Chen Mo thinks that Zhang Tianba must have bought information to know where to step first. The other players start mocking him, and the woman he helped quickly steps away. Even with time running out, the young man just smiles calmly and confidently. At the last second, he calmly touches one of the squares on the virtual board. The protagonist steps on the chosen square while a shadowy entity watches them from above. Before him, a number 1 appears on the floor, confirming his move was a success. Zhang Tianba is shocked, and around him, several squares are revealed to be safe. Gradually, more numbers appear on the board, indicating the bomb-free areas. With that, our protagonist receives several health potions as a reward for his move. The woman who switched places regrets it, as the items should have been hers. Just then, Zhang Tianba approaches and compliments the rookie, saying he's very capable. Our hero thinks he can win the challenge if he follows the rules of Minesweeper. But he suspects that since it's rank D, there must be secret rules, and he needs to be careful. He figures out that the other guy bought information to know where to step first. With a fake smile, the man congratulates him and says he has a lot of potential. In his thoughts, the leader thinks the young man also has inside information, so he regrets not having taken the valuable items the rookie won. Faced with the situation, he yells at the other players and tells them to hurry up. The psycho plans to take out our hero later to steal all his potions. His goons calm him down, and he goes back to pressuring the rest of the group to play. Afraid of the leader, a woman steps forward and says she'll be the next to play. The woman in the white dress analyzes the board and marks a potential mine. With that, she chooses the adjacent square, thinking it's safe. A moment later, she steps on the spot she chose with great confidence in her move. The woman celebrates with relief upon seeing that she got it right and is safe. After that, a masked guy also makes his move and chooses one of the squares. He also gets lucky and celebrates having survived his turn in the game. A girl with purple hair plants a flag on a spot where she thinks there's a mine, and so, the other players make their moves one by one without any issues. Gradually, the board is revealed, and the group manages to mark several mines. The woman in white scoffs, saying the game is just Minesweeper and that it's too easy. One of the guys agrees with her, but says it's easy to make mistakes since it's an old game. At that moment, the purple-haired girl approaches our protagonist to talk. She comments that she's already figured out that Zhang Tianba used a skill to cheat in the draw. Our hero just listens to her with a serious and focused expression. He replies that knowing that doesn't change anything, as the guy just exploited a loophole in the rules. The girl agrees with him but says the man's fake attitude is very annoying. The purple-haired woman introduces herself as the streamer Shishiyu and proposes an alliance. Our protagonist becomes suspicious and remembers that this is a life or death game. The streamer replies that she knows that and mentions she had a very strong partner once. With that, she says it was the first time she saw such a powerful female player in action. She recalls that the girl had golden hair but forgot to ask for her name. Upon hearing this, our protagonist is shocked and wonders if it's his sister. Desperate, he grabs her and asks for more details about the golden-haired player. The woman complains that he's hurting her and says she didn't notice the details. Zhang Tianba then interrupts them, and our hero lets her go, focusing on the game. Now it's the turn of the woman, who switched places with him to make her move on the board. The woman is terrified because all the safe spots have already been chosen. She can't decide because the remaining squares are very difficult. Suddenly, a 30-second countdown begins to appear in the arena. The system warns that if time runs out, a mine will explode randomly on the field. Furious, Zhang Tianba yells that if she doesn't follow the rules, she's going against everyone there. Seeing her desperation, Zhang Tianba gets irritated and says he'll help her choose. The woman panics and pleads for no one to harm her, as she doesn't want to meet her end. Impatient, the man tells her to shut up and prepares to force the move. But at the last second, the streamer Shishiyu stops him from doing something foolish. She offers to help the woman choose and says it doesn't break the rules. From there, the purple-haired girl asks the other player to trust her. Shishiyu explains that the number 3 at her feet indicates she has already marked 3 mines. Therefore, she assures her that the square in front of her is safe for the woman to step on. The woman thanks her for her kindness and prepares to follow the streamer's advice. Shishiyu then turns to the leader and says the woman just got nervous for a moment. With that, the player carefully steps on the square indicated by the purple-haired girl. She is relieved to see that the spot was indeed safe and that she survived. The woman thanks her again for the help and says the streamer is very kind for it. But suddenly, the woman's face fills with terror as she realizes something awful. The square she's standing on begins to glow and crack beneath her. Desperate, the woman screams that the streamer lied because the spot had a mine. Realizing the danger, our protagonist yells for everyone to get down now. With that, the mine explodes with brutal force, and the woman is caught right in the blast. A massive red explosion consumes the area and destroys part of the game arena. Our hero uses his invisible wings to escape while the streamer manipulates gravity. At the same time, Jang Tiamba's group uses a shield skill to protect themselves from the explosion. Despite the protection, one of the guys in the group gets injured in the chaos. When the smoke clears, some players are lying lifeless on the arena floor. The explosion left a huge crater on the board, and the group scatters in fear. Shiyu wonders where that mine came from and if the woman from before planted it. But our protagonist says no, and that something unexpected must have happened there. Suddenly, the injured guy gets up and accuses the streamer of having a wicked heart. The woman in white says that 3 players were eliminated because of her and calls her a murderer. Thus, she yells that the streamer needs to take responsibility for the fallen players. Annoyed, Shiyu asks where they were when the other girl asked for help. With that, Shiyu shouts that they are just looking for a scapegoat to blame. Meanwhile, our protagonist thinks the problem must be hidden somewhere. He remembers that the location shouldn't have had a mine because the numbers indicated otherwise. From there, the young man wonders if he missed some important information. Suddenly, his eyes widen as he finally realizes what's happening. Our hero notices that the numbers on the minefield simply changed after the explosion. Faced with the situation, the group surrounds the streamer and accuses her of being an arrogant murderer. However, the woman is not intimidated and prepares to fight all of them at once. With a smirk, she reveals her gravity manipulation skill and threatens them on the spot. Afraid of her power, Jang Tiamba's group backs down, unsure of what to do next. In this tense moment, our protagonist approaches her and touches her shoulder. Annoyed by the gesture, the streamer turns around and asks if he wants to pick a fight too. Chen Mo just stares at her with a very serious and calm look, showing no emotion. A moment later, he reveals that there is a mine that can move across the battlefield. The other players are shocked and say that's nonsense and makes no sense at all. Jang Tiamba finds the idea of moving mines quite interesting and becomes thoughtful. One of the female players then remembers that the numbers on the board changed after the explosion. Chen Mu explains that the mine moved to the right, which is why the woman exploded without warning. From that, the other players realize he's right and that the woman was safe before. With this, our protagonist accuses the streamer of using the other girl as a scapegoat. He then pressures her and asks if she wants him to continue exposing her plan to everyone. Surprised by the help, Shiyu asks what his purpose is in defending her there. Our hero replies that she misunderstood and that he needs her strength to win the game. The purple-haired girl just gives a slight smile and seems not to care about the offer. With an arrogant air, she says she doesn't need a rookie's help to fend for herself. Suddenly, our protagonist summons his serpent and releases a terrifying aura of power. His eyes glow red as he stares at the streamer with a very menacing look. He warns that he's not negotiating, and the girl feels the crushing pressure of his power. Terrified, she wonders if he's really a rookie and not a veteran in disguise. But she concludes that since he wants her help, he probably won't attack her now. Faced with the situation, the streamer changes her tone and says she doesn't want to owe anyone any favors. She reveals that her Celestial Eye skill can only be used 3 times and she's already used it once. Jang Tiamba is skeptical and questions if anyone can remember so many numbers. Our protagonist replies that he's a programmer and that he definitely didn't make any mistakes. The group leader gets annoyed and says they don't have time to verify imaginary things. With a confident look, our hero seems to have a plan to prove his theory to everyone. He says it's easy to check and reveals he has a detection skill with limited uses. From there, he points to a square and confirms that there's a mine hidden nearby. To everyone's shock, he says the verification method is simple, just step on it. He remembers that the mine takes 2 seconds to explode and opens his attribute panel. Focusing on agility, he prepares to run while the others call him crazy. Without hesitation, our protagonist steps on the square he believes holds the moving mine. With that, the spot explodes with brutal force, sending smoke and debris everywhere. The shockwave from the explosion throws the other players back violently. Jang Tiamba's group barely manages to protect themselves with a shield that cracks on impact. Shiyu is thrown back by the explosion and wonders if our protagonist met his end just like that. But the reflection in her eye reveals that something completely unexpected just happened there. It turns out our hero managed to escape the explosion at the last second with his speed. Thus, he lands safely a good distance from the bomb's detonation site. The streamer is left speechless by his speed and concludes that he was hiding his true level. Out of breath, the young man admits it was a close call and that his HP can't take another hit like that. To be safe, he decides to use a health potion to restore some of his health. With that, our protagonist drinks the item, and his energy slowly begins to recover. Looking at the crater, the other players realize he was telling the truth all along. They panic because they don't know the mine's movement pattern and can't see them. To make matters worse, a timer announces they have 30 seconds to move. Faced with the situation, some players despair, thinking there's no hope of winning. However, our protagonist thinks the mines must have a pattern for the game to be fair. Observing the arena carefully, the young man seems to have noticed something very important. He then turns to the group and says that to win, they need to solve this problem. One of the guys complains that the system's task is urgent and they can't worry about anything else. Our protagonist agrees and says that's exactly what he was thinking of doing. With that, he suggests splitting the group in two to complete the task and find the mines pattern. The other players choose the system's task, afraid of being taken out by the moving mines. Thus, only our hero and the streamer Shishiyu are left for the more dangerous task. He then invites her to investigate the moving mines while the others continue the game. With an excited smile, the girl accepts the mission and guarantees she will complete the challenge. But Zhang Tianbai interrupts them and suggests bringing more people to ensure the pair's safety. Our protagonist refuses, saying too many people could get in the way, and promises to share the rewards. The leader is suspicious and thinks the rookie found something good and won't share anything with anyone. So, he praises their courage and says he will lead the team from above to help. With a false air, the man even hands them a radio so they can communicate. Our hero takes the item and thanks the leader for his supposed help, who seems very suspicious about it. But the psycho reveals that he will detonate everything as soon as they find something valuable down there. The streamer asks if he trusts the guy and says they'd be lucky if they weren't betrayed by him. Our protagonist replies that it doesn't matter because he never expected the guy to keep his promise. The streamer doesn't understand what he's thinking and asks the young man to come closer as her skill has a limited range. The young man stands there for a moment, not paying much attention to what the woman is asking. Suddenly, he pulls her close to him with a quick and unexpected move. He explains that his levitation skill is single target and that if he didn't hold her, she would fall. With everything ready, our protagonist yells for them to jump, and the two dive into the dark crater. So, the pair descends through the hole, using our hero's levitation skill to avoid getting hurt. Arriving at the bottom, the streamer finds the place very barren and asks if they will find any clues there. But our protagonist notices something shining in the back of the cave, and becomes very curious about the scene. He then asks the girl to come closer, and the two move forward to investigate what it could be. The pair finally manages to land safely on the rocky floor of the mysterious tunnel. Before them, a passage is revealed, and he says the moving mines must be inside. The streamer didn't expect that, and wonders how the mines use the passage to move. With a smile, the woman jokes if the mines have legs to walk around and starts laughing. But her laughter is cut short when a dark creature with red eyes appears in front of her. Terrified, the streamer clings to our hero and screams that she saw something moving in the darkness. With that, she asks him to protect her as her powers don't work properly in this strange place. Our protagonist then remembers that he had already figured out the truth about the moving mines before. A notification had appeared before him, revealing a mine soldier ant, copyable code. From that, he understood that the mines were living creatures, which is why they moved, and he accepted the copy. A moment later, a small golden energy ant materialized in the palm of his hand. Back in the present, he looks at the digital ant and says that if anything happens, he's counting on it. Suddenly, the ground starts to shake violently, and the streamer is startled by the noise. A giant mechanical ant bursts through the wall, and the pair is shocked by the scene. Shishiyu is terrified of the creature as debris flies everywhere in the cave. Before them, the giant monster prepares to attack the two, who are cornered with no way out. To make matters worse, several other ants appear, and the streamer understands they are mobile bombs. Our protagonist realizes they are seen as intruders and that the panic in the colony will only get worse. Tired of just waiting, the streamer decides to fight and prepares her gravity manipulation skill. But before she could attack, Chenmo grabs her by the arm, stopping her movement on the spot. Chenmo stops her, saying that blowing everything up there would be suicide, and she asks what his plan is. Our protagonist then shows her the golden, and he had copied before entering. With a shout, he summons a giant golden creature in the middle of the dark cave. From there, a massive mechanical ant emerges to protect them from the other monsters. Right after, he pulls the streamer forcefully to the ground so she won't get hurt. Our hero yells for her to get down as they hide behind the giant ant's leg. Shishiyu is shocked and wonders what kind of ability this is that can copy anything. Before them, the other ants approach and surround the pair and their new protective summon. The mechanical creatures seem confused and just observe the golden ant without attacking. Slowly, the monsters get closer but don't seem aggressive towards the new giant beast. He explains that the ants recognize each other by scent and that he tricked them with its scent. Embarrassed, the woman asks him to let her go, and the young man awkwardly apologizes. So, the two get up and stand beside the giant creature that is protecting them there. Our protagonist then gives the ant's leg a few pats as if to thank it for its help. In response, the beast releases an orange goo that seems to be some kind of special pheromone. Our protagonist tells her to rub the goo on her body so the ants won't bother them. He warns that if she wants to get wiped out, she just has to not apply it, and starts smearing the gross goo on himself. The streamer understands that this disguises them as one of the ants, and that she has no other choice. With great disgust, the woman rubs the goo on her leg and prepares to continue their journey. Without waiting for her, our hero starts walking, and the girl yells at him not to leave her behind. So, the pair advances through the tunnel, and Shishiyu is shocked by the number of ants. She finds it strange that there are so many bugs, but he says it's normal since they're in their nest. The young man remembers that the rule was to find 30 mines, but there are over 50 ants there. He thinks the rules aren't false and that maybe in the beginning, there were only 30 mines. With that in mind, he asks the streamer to follow him, because the answer is at the end of the tunnel. Before them, a dark, root-filled passage is revealed in the middle of the rocky cave. Arriving there, they find a giant queen ant laying eggs that glow in the dark. Other smaller ants approach the queen and seem to be feeding the giant creature. He understands that the queen is the source of the mines, and that the longer they stay, the more mines appear. A notification informs him that he has discovered the secret mechanic and now needs to defeat the boss. The mission is now to destroy the queen ant to earn double XP and rare item rewards. Our protagonist is surprised because the mission was updated for all players in the arena. Zhang Tianba's group receives the notification and is confused by the new game mission. The leader smiles, knowing the rookie had found something valuable and that the stage wasn't simple. Shiyu gets excited upon discovering they found a secret boss and that the rewards are huge. With a greedy look, she decides to let our hero fight first to steal everything afterward. Suddenly, the radio the leader gave him starts buzzing with a familiar voice on the other end. Zhang Tianba asks if he needs help since everyone saw the system announcement about the mission. Our protagonist smiles and tells him not to rush and to let things cool down a bit. On the other end, the leader calls several times, but our hero simply ignores his call. Annoyed, the man thinks the rookie plans to keep all the rewards for himself. The streamer asks why he doesn't let them come down to help, since they can't handle it alone. With a wicked smile, she thinks that the more people there are, the easier it will be for her to act in the chaos. Our protagonist agrees that they can't handle it alone, but that the other group is only good for support. So, the pair and the giant ant advance through the dark tunnel to face the queen. Suddenly, several mechanical ants start running towards the terrified pair. Shiyu asks how the bugs caught up to them, and if the goo they applied has worn off. Our protagonist tells her not to worry, because they aren't the creature's target. With that, a horde of giant ants rushes past them without even noticing the pair's presence. He then says they need to hurry because the scent protecting them won't last forever. Meanwhile, Zhang Tianba tries to negotiate and offers to split the rewards 70-30. His goon thinks the rookie won't accept, and the leader says that fortune favors the bold. Filled with rage, the man reveals that the radio has a tracker and that he will force the situation. The pair reaches the queen's chamber and observes the movement of the giant ants. Shiyu asks what they are going to do, as they can't take out all those ants by themselves. Our protagonist just asks for silence and seems to have an idea to solve the problem. From there, a blue energy weapon starts to materialize in our hero's hand. In the arena above, Zhang Tianba sends two of his goons to the other side of the board. The guys ask why they need to go so far and what the boss is planning with that. Without any explanation, the psycho shoots at the two to force the detonation of more mines. With a yell, he orders the two to obey, or he will finish them off right there without a second thought. With no choice, the pair agrees, and the leader says he needs to confirm if the mines are really ants. Hidden, the pair observes the ants moving from side to side in the dark cave. The streamer notices that the bugs are agitated and asks our hero to use his plan B. He replies that he has no plan B, and that he's just waiting for backup to arrive. She freaks out and says he can't be counting on the leader to save them from that situation. Suddenly, one of the ants notices the streamer's presence and approaches to investigate. The giant bug glows red, and a danger alert appears on its mechanical carapace. With that, all the other ants turn towards the pair and prepare to attack. The streamer screams in terror and says she should have never trusted our protagonist. But before the bug could attack, Shiyu uses her gravity skill and crushes it. The creature slams into the ground, but the force of the blow doesn't seem to have had much effect. Suddenly, a huge explosion occurs on the cave ceiling, attracting the bug's attention. Our protagonist smiles and says the cavalry has arrived, and the streamer is confused by the scene. He explains that someone stepped on top of the tunnel, and that the ants were blown up from above. The pair hits the deck to protect themselves from what's coming from the cave ceiling. With that, a brutal explosion occurs, sending debris and dust everywhere. Several ants that were protecting the queen are caught off guard by the attack. The explosions continue in sequence, destroying everything and causing widespread chaos. Up above, Jang Tianba's group is hit head-on by the explosion shockwave. The force of the impact is so great that it throws everyone back with no chance to defend themselves. When the smoke begins to clear, the game arena is completely destroyed by the attack. The whole group coughs heavily due to the dust kicked up by the detonation of the mines. One of the goons looks at the damage and complains about the situation, not understanding the boss's plan. But Jang Tianba boasts about having finished off our hero, and that he'll blow up anyone. However, he finds it strange because the system hasn't given any notification about the rookie's demise. At that moment, they notice something strange moving in the smoke from the hole. The leader is left speechless because he can't believe what's coming out of there. A giant red ant's abdomen emerges from the hole, frightening the whole group. A moment later, a red mosquito and a black sphere appear in the middle of the arena. Right after, the queen ant emerges from the hole, looking much stronger than before. The monster now holds a sphere with the old queen inside, who pleads for help. Seeing this, Jang Tianba becomes furious because the explosion didn't even scratch the beast. He then realizes through the radio that our protagonist also survived the surprise attack. Suddenly, the leader is hit by several blue energy beams and screams in pain from the impact. The giant creature shoots the beams from its eyes, giving the group no chance to defend themselves. The monster then prepares to launch another deadly attack against the cornered players. In response, Jang Tianba points his weapon at the beast and prepares for a counter-attack. But his goon Qiangzi jumps in front of him to protect him with an energy barrier. The barrier shatters, and the attack hits not only the gun but also our hero who was nearby. Seeing his friend in danger, the leader screams his name, completely desperate at the scene. Lying on the ground, the young man was hit by several spikes and calls out to his boss with a weak voice. With his last bit of strength, he says he just wanted to go home as his body dissolves. Faced with the loss of his friend, the man screams his name once more with great anger and pain. And so, he clenches his fists tightly and vows to avenge his companion's demise. Heartbroken, he calls his fallen friend, brother, and braces for what comes next. His fists tighten and rage consumes his body in that moment of pain. His last goon tries to pull him away and yells for him to get up because the place is dangerous. With his face covered in shadows, the man curses the monster and vows to avenge the loss. An aura of power surrounds his body, and he complains that after all this time, he was tricked by the game. The energy is so strong that his shoes begin to tear as he prepares for the fight. His clothes also rip, and he laments having lost his men and resources in this stage. His last goon then yells at him to calm down because he can't use that ability. But it's too late, and the leader promises to avenge Qiangzi's demise with all his power. With that, he transforms into a giant tiger man and roars with all the force of his lungs. The monster charges forward with absurd speed, and golden marks glow on its muscular body. Thus, he leaps into the air with overwhelming power and prepares for the final attack. Before him, the queen ant just watches him with a cold and emotionless gaze. Lying on the ground, the last goon pleads for his boss not to be taken out and calls him a beast. With a powerful leap, the tiger man charges forward and yells that he will rip the monster's hide off. With a furious roar, the tiger man charges full speed at the giant monster. His fist hits the queen's sphere, causing a gigantic explosion of golden energy. Meanwhile, our protagonist and Shiyu watch the fight from a distance amidst the rubble. The streamer asks if they're going to wait for the guy to be defeated to snatch the rewards at the end. But our hero replies that the boss is too strong and that they need to wait a little longer. Back in the fight, the tiger man attacks the queen ant with a sequence of brutal blows. With that, he fires a beam of golden energy that hits the monster head on with everything he has. Panting, the tiger man seems exhausted but still holds his attack position firmly. However, his eyes widen in astonishment as he realizes his attacks aren't working. Without difficulty, the queen ant throws him aside with a single strike of its sharp wings. A moment later, the creature fires a red beam that hits him squarely against the wall. The giant monster seems to have taken no damage and stares at the tiger man with great coldness. From there, the creature releases several numbered spheres that fly towards him rapidly. The spheres are bombs with a countdown and get closer and closer to the target. With that, the bombs are about to explode and cause enormous damage in the game arena. The tiger man tries to dodge the spheres, but there are too many bombs for him to handle. With that, he realizes he won't be able to escape all of them and becomes very desperate. His last goon runs across the arena, screaming for help, knowing he's about to meet his end. He tries to escape from one of the bombs, but the sphere is too fast for the young man to get away. The guy can only scream in terror as he awaits the explosion that will end his life. Seeing the scene, Jang Tianba yells for Tianzi to use his shield and protect himself from the attack. Right after, the tiger man rushes to help his friend, as he's the only family he has left. At that moment, The countdown reaches 0, and the bombs glow a bright red. Thus, the leader embraces his goon to shield him with his own body from the explosion. Chanzi's shield activates, and the pair is enveloped by a purple energy barrier. From there, a gigantic explosion occurs, consuming both players at once. The barrier begins to crack under the force of the impacts but still manages to hold firm. However, the shield breaks, and the tiger man screams in pain from the shrapnel in his body. The goon is shocked to see his boss injured, as the shield wasn't strong enough. Lying on the ground, Jiang Tianba reverts to his human form and spits blood, badly wounded on the floor. The goon Tianzi holds his injured boss and screams his name in desperation. Even badly wounded, the leader says that this time, he will be the one to protect his friend. With tears in his eyes, Tianzi is moved by his boss's words. At that moment, the queen ant prepares a new deadly attack to finish them both off. The giant monster lands in front of the pair, who are lying on the ground, powerless. Lying on the ground, Jiang Tianba wonders if this is really going to be his end. The creature then raises its sharp leg and prepares to deliver the final blow. But suddenly, something hits the beast hard and throws it away from the two players. Our protagonist appears out of nowhere and shoves the pair aside, saving their lives. A moment later, Shishiyu leaps over the monster to help with the counter-attack. Her hands glow with purple energy as she prepares her gravity manipulation skill. From there, the woman uses her power and pins the queen ant to the arena floor. The beast is crushed by the force of gravity and is completely immobilized for a moment. With that, the streamer yells for our hero to run, as now is the chance to attack. Our protagonist then jumps onto a chain and prepares to deliver the final blow. Flying through the air, he decides to risk it all and resets his attributes to test the boss's limits. With a determined look, the young man decides he will put all his points into strength. So, he yells and pours everything into the attack attribute, maximizing his power. His fist fills with a powerful blue energy as he prepares for the final blow. A moment later, he dives straight towards the creature for a devastating attack. The punch lands squarely on the queen ant's head with simply brutal force. From there, the monster's carapace cracks, and a shockwave spreads throughout the arena. The creature is covered in energy spikes, and the ground cracks from the impact. Exhausted, our hero and the streamer wonder if the battle finally ended with that blow. Our protagonist then lands with difficulty on top of the giant creature's dark body, but the queen ant regenerates and attacks the pair of heroes with a scream of pure fury. With that, he is thrown far away and slides across the completely destroyed arena floor. Down, the young man tries to get up, but the creature is already on its feet and ready to attack again. Thus, our protagonist coughs up blood and his health bar drops dangerously low. He realizes the beast's defense is absurd and grabs a potion to heal himself and continue fighting. With that, Jiang Tianba approaches and thanks our hero for saving him and his friend. Our protagonist just looks at him with a tired but still focused gaze on the battle. He then throws the potion he used to heal himself towards the other group's leader. The man catches the item in mid-air and is surprised by the rookie's helpful gesture. With a smile, our hero says he didn't expect him to be so honorable with his friend. From there, he extends his hand and proposes that they team up to defeat the monster. Without a second thought, the leader takes the potion to regain some of his strength. A moment later, he asks Chen Mo how they will work together to win the fight. Our protagonist explains that the boss is strong and flies, and they need to take it down first. The man says that's easier said than done and asks what the exact plan is to do that. Suddenly, Shishiyu yells at them to stop hesitating, because the boss is about to use its special move. The giant creature starts to glow, and several energy spheres appear on its body. From there, the monster releases the spheres, which transform into small attack drones. The creatures look like a mix of an insect and a jellyfish and fly towards the group. With that, the queen releases a swarm of drones that fly to join the other ants. Our protagonist says he has an idea but needs their help, and that the choice is up to each of them. With that, Jiang Tianba agrees and says they need to take out the boss or they'll be eliminated. So, the entire group advances together to face the queen and her attack drones. Our hero then resets his attributes and puts all his points into agility to become faster. Using the radio, he asks the others to distract the monster as he needs to get closer. Jiang Tianba replies that he can leave it to them and tells the young man to proceed with the plan. With a determined smile, the man seems ready to risk it all in this final battle. Thus, he transforms into a tiger man again and the others yell at him not to do it. But he shouts that there's no time to worry about the risks of the transformation now. The tiger man charges forward and says that if they don't go all out now, they won't get another chance. The queen fires several red beams from her eyes to try and stop the tiger man's advance. He knows the transformation burns his HP but asks our hero to hurry up with the plan. Near the monster, Chen Mo realizes the queen's advantage is her wings, and that they are the weak point. From there, he uses one of the drones as a foothold to get even closer to his target. With a powerful leap, He says it's time to give the monster a taste of its own medicine and prepares for the strike. A screen appears with a copyable soldier ant code, and he accepts without thinking. Without hesitation, the young man confirms the copy to use the skill against the giant monster. He tries to copy multiple times, but the system informs him that his storage space is insufficient. Our protagonist then realizes he doesn't have space but will clear his inventory. With a smile, he says that what he copied is enough to make the queen suffer. He asks the streamer to throw him upwards so he can attack the queen. The woman says he's too far away, but that she'll do her best to help him in the fight. With that, Shishiyu uses all her strength and unleashes a powerful wave of purple energy. Thus, our hero is launched into the air with absurd speed. Flying, he approaches the queen and prepares the ants he copied for the final attack. With that, the young man lands on the monster's back and releases the creatures he copied. The small ants emerge from the sphere and begin to attack the queen's wings with everything they have. One of the creatures bites the monster's wing hard and starts to tear the material. The small bug manages to pierce the queen's wing, breaking her main defense. From there, a damage alert appears on the monster's body, indicating its weak point. The giant queen roars in pain as the ants continue to destroy her wings. The small bugs our protagonist copied chew on the monster's wings relentlessly. With the radio in hand, Chen Mo warns everyone to get back because the detonation is coming. A moment later, the queen's body explodes in a very strong and bright red light. The rest of the group watches the scene in shock as our hero flies away from the danger. An overheating alert appears on the monster's body, which now glows a bright red. Thus, the creature explodes with brutal force, and the group protects themselves with a shield. Zhang Tianba's team strains to its limits to keep the energy barrier up. When the smoke dissipates, the beast is still standing but seems badly injured from the attack. Suddenly, a giant rock flies towards them, and everyone panics at the situation. As the dust settles, the team wonders if they have finally defeated the boss. They look at the monster's fallen body and question if the battle is really over. But Chen Mo warns them not to let their guard down as the system hasn't given any notification yet. At that moment, the creature's body starts to glow red again, frightening the whole group. The monster gets up with its torn wings and glares at the players with a menacing look. With that, the creature begins to transform and its torn wings regenerate instantly. From there, the monster reveals its final form and charges a beam of red energy. Our protagonist then yells for everyone to spread out as fast as possible. A moment later, the beast attacks, and several rock spikes erupt from the ground with full force. The tiger man is hit head on while trying to protect the rest of his group from the attack. The force of the impact throws him to the ground along with his last teammate. Our hero and the streamer are also thrown far away by the explosion's shockwave. Lying on the ground, the young man realizes that the boss's strength and agility have greatly increased. Meanwhile, the goon helps his boss, whose back is covered in wounds. Terrified, Shiyu screams that the monster is coming towards them again with full force. The creature then advances slowly towards the group, who are down and powerless. Seeing the danger, the goon yells for his boss to be careful and creates an energy shield. But the monster shatters the barrier with ease and hits him head on without mercy. Zhang Tianba screams in desperation as he sees his last friend being thrown away by the beast. Lying on the ground, the young man coughs up blood and seems to be in his final moments. The creature then advances to finish off Zhang Tianba, who is down and has no strength to fight. Suddenly, the streamer Shiyu leaps from one of the chains to try and save the man. With that, the woman uses her gravity control and holds the monster's claw with her power. Using all her strength, she manages to lift the giant creature for a brief moment. The purple-haired girl celebrates, thinking her plan to immobilize the beast worked. But the monster resists her power and continues to float in the air as if nothing happened. The creature then hits her with a brutal blow and slams her against the arena floor. Thus, the woman's body is thrown violently away with no chance of defense. At the last second, our protagonist catches her in his arms and saves her from another impact. Desperate, the streamer says it's the end, and that this time they are completely finished. Chen Mo also laments, thinking that a ranked D instance is still too much for them. But he remembers he still has an item he hasn't used, and it might be his last chance. He recalls winning a strange capsule in his first stage and that there might be hope. From there, the item opens and reveals a forest sprout that summons a forest from the ground. With no time to waste, he uses the capsule and hopes it's a lifesaver and not junk. With that, the seeds from the capsule scatter on the ground and begin to glow intensely. Suddenly, a dense forest springs up from the ground with impressive speed in the arena. The trees grow endlessly, transforming the place into a completely different scenery. Amidst the forest, the monster gets trapped, and the group realizes that Zhang Tianba alone can't handle it. The reflection on the creature's body shows the trees that have just sprouted out of nowhere. Furious, the beast begins to destroy the forest with its sharp and powerful claws. The creature cuts through the trees as if they were paper with no apparent difficulty. In a short time, the monster destroys everything and returns its focus to the group of survivors. Thus, the creature roars and unleashes a red shockwave in all directions. The explosion spreads across the arena, destroying what's left of the forest and rocks. The entire group is thrown far away by the force of the explosion, unable to defend themselves. Lying on the ground, they comment that the guy's scream sounds like a pig being slaughtered. Badly injured, Zhang Tianba says it's useless because their level is too low for Phase 3. Our protagonist agrees that his words are harsh but that he's right and asks what to do. Zhang Tianba then proposes a deal, saying he will help our hero level up. Our protagonist questions the proposal and asks how Zhang Tianba can guarantee he will keep his word. The man threatens him, saying he has many friends on the outside and that if he dares to trick him, he will be in big trouble. With that, he reveals his shocking plan and asks our hero to end his life so he can level up 3 to 5 times. A notification appears revealing that Zhang Tianba is a wanted target with a huge bounty on his head. Seeing the scene, his last goon despairs and begs his boss not to go out like that. But the leader stands firm and says this is the only solution they have to get out of this situation. He then asks Tianzi to pay the brothers' salaries, and the young man blames himself for being too weak to help. Tired of stalling, the man yells at our protagonist to shoot already and get it over with. Pointing the gun, Chen Mo realizes the guy is a red name, which indicates he has done bad things. Tianzi then pleads with him not to judge his boss by the red name, because he's not a bad person. He explains they were just workers who ended up losing their jobs to the AI robots. Thus, the young man kneels and begs him not to take out his boss, because everyone relies on him so much. The streamer Xia Xiyu thinks that their situation is very similar to what she herself went through in the past. The woman remembers that she was once a very famous virtual streamer with millions of followers at her peak. But with the rise of AI, she was replaced by avatars that work non-stop all day long. The streamer recalls that even her most creative ideas were stolen and surpassed by the AI. Because of that, she ended up going bankrupt and reached a point where she didn't even have money for the basics. The woman tried to find simpler jobs, but even those had already been taken over by robots. To make matters worse, her best friend betrayed her in the game out of greed and tried to finish her off. Fortunately, the streamer managed to survive, but the experience left her completely traumatized and without direction. Meanwhile, Zhang Tianba thinks that the game has people willing to sacrifice themselves for others. Our protagonist reflects that the man chose to follow his principles instead of becoming a monster. Moved by the scene, the streamer Shishiyu wonders if she should trust them a little more. Suddenly, the Queen attacks again, interrupting the group's moment of reflection. Thus, Zhang Tianba yells at our hero not to waste time and to shoot already. With a face full of pain, the young man seems to feel the weight of the decision he needs to make in that moment. Pointing the gun, our protagonist promises that he will keep his word and get them out of there alive. With a smile of relief, the leader thanks our hero for everything he has done for them. A moment later, a shot echoes through the arena, and his goon screams in despair for his boss. A notification congratulates our hero, who levels up to 11, and his system is updated. The notification reveals that he can now transfer attributes between himself and his creatures. With a confident smile, the young man gets up and says that now it's his turn to counterattack. He then explains his plan and says he will draw the monster's attention so the group can attack. But the streamer and the goon say their skills aren't strong enough to help much. With no time for explanations, he says this is their last chance and asks them to obey. With a determined look, the pair agrees to follow our hero's plan without hesitation. With that, our protagonist announces that the attack operation against the monster will begin. So, he charges forward, and the rest of the group follows him into the final battle against the beast. The group runs through the forest, and the queen prepares to attack with her sharp claws. With that, the young man yells for his team to get ready because the time to act is now. Thus, the streamer creates a green energy platform to help the goon get up. With the woman's help, he manages to climb the giant monster's back without difficulty. The young man climbs the creature with great agility while our hero watches him from above. The streamer uses her gravity control to pin the queen while the goon prepares his shield. With that, the young man activates his skill, and a purple energy barrier appears to protect him from the attack. Our protagonist then yells at the streamer to use her gravity with all her might on the young man. With a desperate cry, he tells her to use all her power to crush the monster for good. The woman then clenches her teeth and prepares to unleash her ability with everything she has. Thus, she unleashes a wave of purple energy and smashes the goon against the queen. The combined force of the two manages to pin the monster's claw to the ground for a moment. With the attack, the giant creature loses its balance and ends up falling hard in the arena. Our hero praises the teamwork and prepares for the next step of his plan. With that, he summons his giant serpent, which lunges to devour the monster lying on the ground.